We are rolling. The red light's on. Elvis is on. We are taping. Thanks for stopping by. Tony here. I really appreciate you stopping by my channel. And before we go any further, you have to say the please like and subscribe. But you know what? I think everyone who has subscribed, I think everyone who stops in and looks at it, we get a lot of views. And we notice that, a lot of people stop by, but they don't subscribe because the analytics will show you that. So if you can consider it, if you're a Sinatra fan like I am, and like a lot of you are, please do so, because this episode is about this reissue in the wee small hours. Now, when I listened to this last night, it was the wee small hours. I listened to it 11, 12. I didn't get a chance to do anything until later as far as review it. I got my notes. I did some research. So this is a record filled with angst, filled with emotion, melancholy. If you've ever been in love and had a love lost, this is the record for you. And it stirs so many emotions. It may not stir emotions in everyone, but then again, if you like music, you're probably like me and you're very emotional. So this is the one to get. This is In the Wee Small Hours. Now, when Sinatra did this record, this was in between these two records, and I have here actually a duo, a compilation with Swing Easy and Songs for Young Lovers. Now, this is a Japanese companion, so they actually fit two records on one album, because these albums were, maybe this record was 15 minutes long or 18, 20 minutes long, but somehow it's on here. Here's the original Songs for Young Lovers. See there? And so this came out in the middle of those two albums. Now, this was called his Ava album because he was going through a separation with Ava Gardner, his true love, I think. They kind of separated. I think they were married in 51. They separated in 53. Their divorce wasn't finalized until 57. So Sinatra was going through a lot of emotions. He actually attempted suicide sometime during their breakup. You can read about that. It's all over. So that was, and Sinatra never forgot her. If you read anything about Frank, and I have a ton of books on Frank, which I'm going to do some excerpts. Just an amazing a love story that never really had a chance, but you got to read about that. So Frank, with all his emotional that he needed to spend and to release, he came up with this concept album, actually with Nelson Riddle. Nelson Riddle was first time he was conducted by Nelson Riddle, Sinatra, and he was recommended to Sinatra by his piano player, Mr. Miller. Now here is the beautiful black replica of the original Capitol mono from 55, I guess. I think there were gray monos as well. I'm not sure. I think I may have had a gray one, but you can see that, this pristine. This record was flawless. It comes in a nice sleeve. Everything else is exactly as the original was, with the back liner notes, except that this one is a beautiful gatefold. And before I start, let me just read the Tone Poet, hype. Audiophile reissue from the finest in jazz since 39. Cut directly from the original analog tapes. Reissued supervised by Joe Harley, mastered by Kevin Gray in Coherent Audio. And this is a RTI 180-gram vinyl. So it has all the pedigree. And before I forget, doing a little Jack Daniels in tribute to this great artist from New Jersey. Actually, Nelson Riddle was actually younger or a little older than Frank. He was born in Hackensack, and Hackensack is maybe a half hour or so away from Hoboken, where Frank was born in 1915. So he was younger. Nelson was younger. But I'm going to show you the gatefold. Really glossy, if you like that glossy look. A real bargain at between $38 and $40. I believe the record sold out in some stores. In Tone Poet, I think, may be sold out, but it'll probably be repressed. But you could still find them if you look around. And I suggest you do it right away, because these aren't going to last, especially after this stellar review that I give it. I'm not going to go over the liner notes on here, but the liner notes are from 1955 from Music Review. And it's from Rita Kerwin. Now, Rita Kerwin actually was the one who wrote about an encounter that she witnessed during one of the sessions where Frank sang "When Your Lover Has Gone." And if you hear that, when you hear this record on this album, you'll be filled with emotion. And she said that after the master take was completed, Frank Sinatra sat down and put his hat, moved his hat around, and he just started sobbing. He was crying because he was, thinking about Ava, and the emotion just poured out. And the emotion pours out in this entire album. Now, let's get to the album. I have a lot of things we could talk about. I'm going to get back to the album. But first, I want to see this great cover. This cover was so iconic that it was actually mimicked by some great artists. I'm going to show a few, but there were many, many artists. Even Willie Nelson, which I don't have. If you look up Willie Nelson's records, you'll see it now. Tom Waits. What is this called? The Heart of a Saturday Night. Tom Waits loved this album. This was his favorite Sinatra album. Same with A Little Touch of Schmilson in the Night. This was kind of a homage to Frank Sinatra in the wee small hours. And then you have this one, which is a great album in itself, on Cannon's Lonely Street, Andy Williams. You probably never seen this record. Andy Williams was once young. If you can see here, this is probably a early 60s or so album. But these were all inspired by this cover in the wee small hours. Now, of course, here's the inner. You get a great photo, which I've seen before. I've seen these photos before. I know I've seen this classic one. And I'm not going to read the liner notes in here. They're from Rita Kerwin, who actually was the one I said saw him weeping. So it probably talks about that in this. But just an iconic record. It's one of the first concept records where the emotion was the intent, the emotion, the story. Each record that unfolds in this album, and the album's long. The album's just about 50 minutes, so it's 25 minutes aside. And what Tone Poet did to make this sound great at 50 minutes aside, and believe me, when you listen to this record, 25 minutes aside isn't enough as far as you want more. When the record ends, you are not happy. You are still thirsty. I just got the chills. You want more of this record. And I've listened to this record probably 20 times since I ordered this, because I had this reissue, which is a bridge reissue on the blue Capitol label. I guess it's dark blue. Now, this reissue sounds great. I did a A-B comparison. Now, Sinatra is in the room in this record, because the mono recording on this, the mono, whoever engineered this, just did a fantastic job. Most of these, I think one of these records were recorded in March of 53 or March of 54, and all the others were recorded between February 8 and 3/4/55 at the KHJ Hollywood Studios. Now, with Nelson Riddle, of course, at the podium. But this record sounds great. So if you only could find this record, you could probably get this at a bargain. This is Capitol monophonic reissue. I'll just show you the number if you're looking for it. You could probably find this record for maybe $10. And believe me, it's a bridge, but it sounds great. Now, I've been listening to this record in the car because I have a CD. I have the complete CD set. I believe it might be a box set from '88. I don't know if it's MoFi, but I have the CD box set, which has 16 or so Capitol issues, and it just sounds great. That's the complete the CD that I've been listening to in the car is complete. So I'm really familiar with this record now. I've had my originals since probably high school. I was always a Sinatra fan. But they did a great job. Tone Poet did a great job. Look at that spine. So we got the jacket out of the way. Just incredible. Now, as far as the record goes, you know, I don't think I have enough time to really tell you how I feel. I could spend an hour on this. I'm not going to do that. And like I said, this came between Swing Easy and Songs for Swingin' Lovers. So it's kind of odd that Sinatra would do the Torch album in between those two records, but he poured it out. He calls this Ava's album. It's just an amazing record. The sound quality on this, as soon as you pop on the first track, which is in the Wee Small Hours, which is a song that was given to Sinatra by the writers Dave Mann and Bill Hilliard. They saw Sinatra and I think Nelson Riddle somewhere outside in the parking lot, maybe of Capitol Records, and they knew they were recording. And somehow David or Bob showed Sinatra and Nelson the song. Nelson gave it an eyeball and said, "Wow, this is great. Has it been published?" They said, "No, we're showing it to you." Sinatra said, "I'm going to probably put it on this next album," and it ended up becoming the title. Now, a lot of these songs, if you go back and look them up, Sinatra did these songs prior to this record, so he really knew these songs. But what he did was he culled all the emotion, the emotional songs, a lot of these from shows and films, and the songwriters of our great American songbook. Duke Ellington, Moon Indigo. I could never pronounce that. Moon Indigo. Glad to Be Unhappy. Richard Rodgers, Lawrence Hart. I Get Along Without You Very Well. Hoagie Carmichael. What Is This Thing Called Love? Cole Porter. Ill Wind, Harold Arnold. It Never Entered My Mind, Richard Rodgers again. This Love of Mine, Sal Parker. And Frank Sinatra actually has a credit. I don't know what his composition of it was like, but Frank Sinatra has a credit on that. So I'll just hold that up so you can see that. But that's the songs. Now, I don't want to go through every song, but I will, because it needs to be mentioned. Each song is, it's like watching a movie. Sinatra is so emotional, so intimate, so down in the dumps. He's like the tears of a clown. He's saying, what is this? I get along without you very well. But he doesn't get along without her very well. In the wee small hours, he can't sleep. He's thinking about his dame. Moon Indigo. Someone put words to it, to Duke Ellington's great tune, which was Irvin Mills and Barney Bogart. So glad to be unhappy. He was so glad to be unhappy because he's unhappy because of this girl that he knew, this woman that he loved. He was glad to know her, even though they're not together. But it's so emotional, and the memories would stick to him. How a person that sings these songs can ever recover from these lost loves, it's beyond comprehension. And like I said, Sinatra actually, when he broke up with Ava, or Ava basically broke up with him, they couldn't get along. Oil and Vinegar. He attempted suicide, and that's documented. Deep in a Dream, Jimmy Van Heusen, just amazing. I See Your Face Before Me. You will actually see the girl's face before you. You will actually see what Sinatra sees. That's how articulate when he pronounces a vowel, it is so articulate. And on this record, it really shines. The mono record really shines. Yeah, let me get to that. When I first popped it on in the wee small hours, Sinatra, I hate it's a cliche, but it's mono. I have a switch on my audio research, popped it, mono. It was locked into the center channel. But yet, if a passerby came through the room, they would assume it was a stereo recording, because the the frequencies just surround Sinatra's voice like a warm sweater or a warm glove. And his voice is out there. Now his voice is a little closer to you than on the mono reissue that I showed on Capitol. But that Capitol reissue is really good. But in this regard, the brushes on the drum, when the drummer has like a jazz brush on it, it's more prominent. The strings are more prominent. The bass is a little bit more prominent. I don't have the other one to listen to, my original, but I would safely say that this is a bargain that a bargain you can't pass up. This actually is the best record I've listened to, I would say, all year, as far as technically, sonically, beautiful. Just the perfect. Sinatra's voice is perfect, and you could tell, and it may be in different rooms or different mics, because a few times he actually sounds younger. Now, I could have read all these great books on the sessions, and I will, okay, because I can't resist. But if you're gonna get one book and you want to learn how Sinatra conducted himself, this is Sessions with Sinatra by Charles Granada, Afterword by Nancy Sinatra, and Forward by Phil Ramone. So this is a great accompaniment if you're listening to Sinatra, or if you're just getting into Sinatra. Cheers. But Can't We Be Friends? Now, Can't We Be Friends, of course, the title says it all. He's trying to hook up with this dame, as he calls her, this girl, and she's not buying the vibe, and she says, well, can't we be friends? And Frank is emotionally torn apart. And he's like a puppy dog. He's like torn apart. And when Nelson Riddle echoes his sentiment with his arrangement and his band. Now the players that he uses, you can look them up on Wikipedia. They were actually contracted to do films, and they were a tight-knit group. They would work 24 hours a day, 24 hours a week, just in recording sessions. So these guys were like the hit men, the Hit Factory, the Funk Brothers of Capitol, and you can look them up. So these were the top of the top. When Your Lover Has Gone is a song where Sinatra just breaks down and cries. And I think that's one of my favorite songs on here. I don't have any not favorite song on here, as a matter of fact. What is this thing called Love? Like I said, he has done these songs previously, so Sinatra's reading this. Sinatra does not read music, but that's what geniuses do, right? Last Night When We Were Young, Harold Arden, especially when you get to be my age, you think about that. Last Night When We Were Young. I'll Be Around if whatever happens to you and your boyfriend or your spouse, I'm infatuated you. If he leaves, I'll be around. Give me a call. I'll be there. You need help? I'm around. Ill Wind, it's just chills. It's just the strings that attach Ill Wind, you hear the wind blowing through your system. And it's only a mono, but when you actually called my wife to say, you have to listen to this, I rarely do that. And of course she says, yeah, it sounds good, but, it is just phenomenal. Sinatra is 3 feet from you, 4 feet from you. The soundstage is huge. I just say, Tone Poet, thank you for this. And we all, like I said, I believe it's sold out on the Tone Poet site. You can bet your bottom dollar that if they could get the license from the Sinatra estate, we'll probably be seeing some more of these great early Capitol Sinatras, when he was Sinatra had 3 phases: Columbia, Capitol, and Reprise. And Capitol Records, he had just won an Oscar. So he was feeling it. He was feeling it. Plus the movies, it's just a phenomenon. Ill Wind, It Never Entered My Mind, Dancing on the Ceiling. The way he describes dancing on the ceiling and the smoke swirl, you could actually see smoke swirling. You could actually see it. He puts it there, and it's not just, it's, you know, Tone Poet gets credit, but you got to give credit for the recording engineer, the producer, who was just on top of everything, and of course, you know, just the whole, all that equipment that they use, all tubes back in the day, all analog. I'll Never Be the Same, and This Love of Mine. So, but just an amazing record, and Tone Poet knocks it out of the park. One of the best records I've heard this year. You have to remember, there's no overdubs. There's no, I don't know how many tracks. What did they have? Maybe 4 tracks, or maybe 2 tracks. You know, this was originally one track. It's mono. Well, I'm not an engineer, but it was originally a 10-inch album, 2 10-inch albums, I believe. And this was one of the first long-playing records that, you know, Capitol issued. It was before stereo was actually issued. If not, they would have probably did a stereo and a mono. But each tune is a movie. It tears at your heart. It's not the saddest Sinatra LP, because when you look up saddest Sinatra LP, it's this one. This is just, if this is sadder than this one, I don't know if I can listen to it. I may be like Christopher Walken in Annie Hall. You know, I'm so depressed I'm going to drive into incoming traffic. Okay. Now this is Gordon Jenkins. Like I said, I think I said that was the first record that Sinatra did with Nelson Riddle, because Nelson Riddle had worked with the great Nat Cole, and Sinatra wasn't really too keen on using Cole's arranger and conductor. So, but Miller talked him into it, and it was a match made in music heaven. But this mono is emotional. It's layered deep. You could see it's a mono record, but I'm telling you, it's layered. You could actually see the instruments. You could actually see them. It's so deep and so clear. It's a torch song album that is written with angst. It's just incredible. I'm just going to read a quick excerpt from this, and then I'm going to let you go. I have a lot more. This is a great book as well. I've quoted this book when I did the announcement of this record a few months ago. But before I forget, go out and get this record if you're a Sinatra fan. If you're not a Sinatra fan, go out and get this record. Listen to it on YouTube. Try to get one of the better sounding streaming YouTubers or people post this record. But I'm going to read something from this, and this is Why Sinatra Matters by Pete Hamill. This is a great record. I've quoted this book before, but this is particularly about In the Wee Small Hours, and then I'm going to head out. On the records, the voice was deeper. This record, the voice was deeper, richer, and more tremor. The voice of a man. But it also had a newer attitude. In the ballads, most of them torch songs, he was protected now with the armor of the stoic. The songs from the Wee Small Hours said that in spite of loss, abandonment, defeat, he and you could get through the night. Just amazing, right? Writing. Pete Hamill. You could get hurt, but it was worth the risk because you knew that no defeat was permanent. There would be another day, a new woman, another chance to roll the dice. There was rue in some of the songs. There was regret. There was no self-pity. Ava taught him how to sing a torch song, said Nelson Riddle many years later. She taught him the hard way. Everything that flowed from his comeback, the Rat Pack, the swagger, the arrogance, the growing fortune, the couriers, and in the end, a little relevance. It was as much to do with Sinatra's art as Hemingway's big game hunting had to do with his. For a while, Sinatra appeared to be the only man in America who could not be hurt again, not ever. Sinatra Matters. Why Sinatra Matters. Great album. I didn't do it credit by describing it. I don't think anybody can. But Tone Poet, send me the next one as a promo, because I'm giving you a great review, man. Tone Poet. I don't have a lot of tone poets because I'm not buying a lot of jazz. This is under their jazz heading. Sinatra was one of the greatest jazz vocalists ever, pop, whatever you want to call it. And that's it right there. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Keep rocking. I'm sorry this took so long. I hope you got through it. There's always actually chapters. That doesn't matter because you're at the end. So thanks a lot. Stay safe and pick this up, or at least listen to it. Do yourself a favor. Stream it. Listen to it. If you can, try to get it. Ciao.